Hello, my little geeks and freaks. So, last time I had a really nice setup for my book bowl review video. I am currently unable to use that area. So I'm just working with what I got because I was trying to hold off and wait, but at that point it'll be a while before I can make a video for you guys. So I'm just gonna record here and work with what I got. I also don't have my little mug or any of my props, which is sad, but that's okay. I am drinking a little white peach seltzer, so I'm happy. So today's book bowl review is on The Boyfriend by Freida McFadden. Honestly, I'm happy that I can talk about something that's not the Morally Gray Billionaire series because I think I would just lose my mind. This title was pulled at the same time I pulled The Morally Gray Billionaires. When I had pulled that series as my first pull, I had pulled another book, Just Have a Palate Cleanser, midway, and then I ended up scratching the whole midway and it'll be my second review, and then I have another series that I pulled out in my last video to read between the other books. I am honestly so glad that I read this book. It was just what I needed. Admittedly, I had never read a book written by Freida McFadden before, but I cannot wait to read more. It was really good. So this book is about a woman who goes on a horrible first date and she's bummed about her love life and she just wants to meet Mr. Right. When a horrific event hits a little too close to home, she ends up meeting this mysterious stranger, a stranger that seems too good to be true. After a series of red flags, our main character starts to question everyone around her, especially her new, seemingly mostly perfect boyfriend. The truth, not something she would ever expect. This book is a dual point of view book, so one chapter will be through our main male character Tom's point of view in the past, and the other point of view will be of Sydney's present. At first I wasn't sure how that would play out, but as you go on reading, it makes a lot of sense why they blend the point of views between the two people and the two time periods. And it was also a really clever way to keep me guessing. If you did guess the ending of this book, then you are amazing. So many options could have been the ending. I loved every second of this book. I love having to question every little bit of information I'm getting. I love having to sit there wondering who did what, who is this person, this, that, and the other. So many ideas came into my head through reading the book, and I will tell you all of the thoughts that I had, but I will not tell you how the book ends. I do want to keep from spoiling that because, oh my goodness. Now, despite having a bunch of praise for this book, I do also have criticisms, so I will also go through that in this review with you guys. The quick reaction, I loved it. It was amazing. I would recommend it to anyone, but that wouldn't be a good book review, now would it? Now, as I stated in the brief summary in the beginning, our book does start off with our main female character, Sydney, going on this horrible first date with a guy named Kevin. She met him on a dating app, and she was catfished. My first and immediate criticism does occur in the very beginning of this book. The criticism that I had in the beginning was that I don't get how this woman, who is on a date with a guy that looks nothing like his profile picture, could sit there and make such critical comments about this man and then immediately feel attracted to him because he complimented her. I get that charisma's attractive, but it still seemed a bit abrupt and a little out there, almost like a desperation. It's after this horrible date that she meets a super attractive, mysterious man who actually saved her from her date trying to attack her. What a romantic meet cute. Kind of. A few chapters in, and I'm wondering if her date Kevin is the same guy that our main male character Tom was friends with in his past, and that the mystery man might be Tom. It didn't make too much sense just because in the past Tom and Slug were friends, and in the present time the mystery man and Kevin did not seem to get along or know each other. Now that could just have been a tactic, or they had a falling out, or this was a wrong assumption. But it was still a theory I had, so I might as well just put it out for you guys. Part of me in my little twisted brain was wondering if maybe it was all a ploy, that like Kevin really is Slug and Tom saved Sydney from Slug to get her to trust him so he could get her. Maybe. I was getting ahead of myself, to be honest. I was really excited to get into this book. Like I said, I needed that palate cleanser from the last book. I do have to admit that I love the subtle hints at Tom's like craziness. It's not in my face, blaring red that this guy is a problem, and I didn't feel overwhelmed by it. It was trickled in so nicely that it kind of left a shiver down my spine. It was tasteful and oh so suspenseful. And I like that Tom is given a lot of backstory, especially because we don't really get his point of view in the present, so to see his backstory and see how it leads him up to be the mystery man, it's interesting, you know. It definitely gives him a lot of depth. Reading the two different periods, the past and the present, did make me very curious to see how Tom's past and Sydney's present collided to be important to show off all of that information. I have to say though, his past makes him strangely likable, kind of like in a Joe Goldberg from the TV show series You. It's actually a book. The book is so much better. Not that that's important. So yeah, I do feel like he's definitely like a Joe Goldberg. I feel bad that he had such a poor home life growing up. You know, your adolescence is supposed to be the most crucial years of your life and of your development, and that definitely had an impact on him. No wonder the kid had some intrusive thoughts, you know. As I was reading this book, I ended up getting that like tingling feeling in my gut. That anticipation and excitement building up as I found the book more unsettling and then equally more enjoyable. I couldn't put it down, actually. I think it took me 24 hours to read the book. I started at night one night, I finished in the afternoon the next day. There's a point where Tom mentions, in the past now, because he is the past point of view, he mentions a girl who goes missing in his town. And he states, "She kissed me, and the only people who know about it are her and me. And now just me." I damn near squealed. I thought this was his confession. I thought that he was ashamed of kissing someone who wasn't Daisy, which is a girl he was interested in, so he disposed of her. That's definitely my biggest theory that I had, that I kept just kind of growing off of it as I went through the book. Freida McFadden definitely has a cheeky way of like dropping little hints that make you think the person is guilty. And I mean, I live for it. I do live for that suspense. I do live for not knowing until the very last minute. Now, in the present time, Sydney has a friend, Bonnie, who had a secret boyfriend who had commitment issues. He was a doctor and super hot and great in bed. They definitely had to add that in. Sydney's friend Bonnie tells her about the guy that she's dating, and that's the same night that she meets this mystery man. And then tragedy strikes. And that tragedy was so emotional, even though it was so early in the book. I still had such an emotional response to it. I feel like I had more of an emotional response than I did to the proposal, that I really felt for these characters, and I was kind of going through the story with them, wanting to see what happened next, you know, hoping, cheering for them, that kind of thing. I was actually really sad reading about the tragedy. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler, but in case, just spoiler alert, Bonnie does end up being unalived, and obviously that's traumatic that her friend is no longer with her. So I felt really bad for her. I felt really sad reading this. And for some reason, the coincidence in time of Bonnie talking about her secret boyfriend, Sydney meeting a mystery man, that mystery man saving her from Kevin, and then Bonnie being unalived, it made me wonder if mystery man was actually Tom, who happened to be the guy that was dating Bonnie. And then that's, again, how I'm getting to that. It further built off of the whole Tom and Slug being mystery man and Kevin thing. And then, my brain cells, they rubbed together and gave me some other thoughts, and it made me wonder if Tom was the mystery man, but he wasn't the one that unalived Bonnie, but his friend Kevin, who was Slug, did, because Bonnie had threatened him when he kept harassing Sydney. So that was another theory. Guys, just keep in mind, I do have a lot of like thoughts going through this book. I'm not going to spoil the end and tell you who did what, who was what, this, that, and the other. So just understand that everything I'm saying to you are just my theories. I will not confirm nor deny if I was right or wrong or how right or wrong I was. You're just gonna have to read to find out. Bonnie and Sydney had another friend named Gretchen who was dating Bonnie and Sydney's super named Randy, and Randy did really confuse me. Mostly because Bonnie was really creeped out by him and had mentioned it to Sid right before her untimely demise. And he was the super of their apartment, which meant he had access to her place. You know, it does make him mighty suspicious. And then when Gretchen and Sydney were at her funeral crying and visibly upset over the loss of their friend, he was unable to understand why they were so upset, knowing that they were all close. Now, more information was given out during Tom's past that made me wonder if maybe Tom wasn't the person responsible for the girl he kissed going missing. Maybe it was his friend Slug. So I was kind of trying to think that maybe the book was going down a path where, you know, Slug felt threatened by their friendship, or maybe Slug liked that girl. And then I thought maybe if that was the case, Tom would have made that comment knowing that she was gone, but not saying anything because he wanted to protect his friend. Now, Tom does do something to his father, and while I can't condone it, I kind of get it. I don't think that makes him the villain of this book, but after reading what happened with his father, I came up with a new prediction. I think that the thing that Tom does to his dad, his friend Slug, who I still think is Kevin, came over to kind of be there for him and support him. One of Daisy's friends does not like Tom, got a little suspicious when she saw him and Slug together, and she is always trying to tell Daisy to just leave Tom alone. Don't stay near Tom, you know? But, and I don't know why I thought of this, but if Tom and Daisy aren't together in present time and he loved her so much, it makes me think she's not alive. So, my next thought process was if I thought that Slug, aka Kevin, unalived that girl he kissed because he felt threatened, maybe he did it to Daisy too. And that's why they're not friendly, and that's why he was aggressive and saved Sydney from him. You see my thought process? You see the little gears turning? It's a little smoky in there, but the gears did turn. There's also a point in the book where I wonder if Randy is actually Slug. I don't know why I think these people are changing their names, but technically Slug isn't a name, it's a nickname, and they never say his name. So that's why I'm trying to, figure out who Slug is. But Randy is, weirdly into ants, and so is Slug, so I thought maybe they were trying to hint that, that's Slug. But I don't know. I really don't. At this point, my brain hurts with trying to figure out who's what. I was trying to draw out, names, connecting. I had my own little crime scene going on, guys. That is not what I needed to do. Honestly, the fact that I couldn't figure out anything and so much information was thrown at you in the sense of who did what, who's actually who can you trust, who can't you trust. It was in the best way, chaotic. It made me want to keep reading. That's why I finished it so quickly. It made me want to find out which of my theories was accurate. Did I get anything accurate? Honestly, I became this book's bitch. Towards the ending of the book, everything was happening so quickly. Sydney started to suspect Tom was the culprit for Bonnie's untimely demise. And honestly, who could blame her? Tom was being super suspicious. I mean, there were red flags. The only people she seemed to trust was her ex-boyfriend and Gretchen. But despite not trusting anyone and not feeling safe, I don't feel like she really did anything to protect herself better. She put herself in harm's way again and again. She saw red flags and treated them like checkpoints. And the end result still leaves me shocked. We got to see the truth unfold right before her eyes. Before our eyes, before both of our eyes. The best part was, we saw the truth unfold in the past and the present within that same few chapters. It was one after another. You just got the entire reveal. I have to say, I was trying hard not to scream as all the information came at me. And I was kind of sitting on my chair, swinging my legs back and forth like a little schoolgirl. It was so good. The ending was definitely shocking. I didn't expect it. A part of me was meh, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it also makes perfect sense on how it ended that way. I don't think there was any better way to end it. I wonder if you guys do read this book or have read this book, if you were able to get the answer to the conclusion while reading it before you got to the end. Yeah, I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna reveal to you what I got right, what I got wrong, or anything in between. I do really recommend that you read this book. I think you will enjoy it if you're into mysteries and thrillers. It was so well executed. Aside from the few minor criticisms I had, it was so well executed. It left me on my toes. Now, my favorite quote of the book is when Sydney says, "I get the feeling that Bonnie is picky, but I'm not. I'm not looking for the most gorgeous guy on the planet. I'm not trying to marry a millionaire. All I want is a decent man who doesn't have a drinking or gambling problem, who is fun to talk to, who has a nice smile, and who likes me as much as I like him." And this quote is so relatable. She's struggling to find love. She wants to be happy and she doesn't want to be picky. And she isn't picky. But it's hard to find a man that can tick all your boxes. And that's true for anyone to be relatable for dating. And I think it's like the way it's described, it's like she is asking for a lot, but she's really not. And that's kind of like where I felt like it was really relatable. My favorite character I think has to be Tom. I think he's so complex and mysterious and attractive. And although we don't get to see his perspective in the present time, seeing his past perspective and how he acts during the present through Sydney's perspective gives him a lot of layers and depth. Despite the things he has done and the intrusive thoughts that he has had, I can't find it in my heart to see him as a bad person. I think he was very troubled and he had a really rough childhood, which shaped him and potentially helped to shape his mind. I'm not saying that he is the way he is solely because of his childhood and what he went through with his abusive father, who was a drunk, but it could still have played a really big role in his development and thought process. It makes me feel bad for everything he went through, and it made me want to cheer him on throughout the whole story. I can't help it. He was so, like, oh, I really did enjoy his character. I enjoyed the depth and the layers and the mysterious vibe he had going on. I loved it. He was also such a nerd, so like that was great. I think surprisingly my least favorite character is Sydney. I like her, don't get me wrong, but she was kind of dumb at some point. Like I said, she saw all these red flags and they were checkpoints for her. She made comments acknowledging that there were red flags and still chose to ignore them until it was almost too late. Bonnie had given so many details about her mystery man, and the investigation on her demise also gave information that Sydney should have kept in the forefront of her mind at all times, but she quickly pushed them away. I think she was like a month after, she was like, okay, I'm ready to get back into the dating scene. I'm cool. Everything's good. And she just forgot to be vigilant about these things. It's like the moment she saw a beautiful man who was the mystery man and he gave her attention and didn't shy away from her and he was good in bed, she forgot everything that she needed to not forget. And we do get to see her ex, and I do like her ex. He was great, even though he did work a lot. I still think that she kind of should have just appreciated him. He ticked all his boxes that she was mentioning. Sure, he worked a lot, but that's better than a stalker, an unaliver, drunk, lazy bum, abusive, you know. She could do a lot worse than the ex. So while I didn't hate her, and I definitely found her relatable, she was still my least favorite character. But as I said, overall, I love this book. I'm so glad I got to read it between my Morally Grey Billionaire series. I do genuinely think that this book was so well written, and it drew me in. It was so charismatic, and it was just so good. I can't stop talking about how much I like that book. I do highly recommend this to anybody who wants to read a mystery book that keeps you on your toes and leaves you guessing until the last possible second. And I cannot wait to read more of her books, and I also cannot wait to stitch this to my sweater. I do have to start making my sweater. I have like a main design too. I should do that. But I can't wait. I'm gonna like stitch a little tie. I did try really hard not to spoil anything in this book. I love this book. I love the twists and the turns. Even if it's not always so good for my heart, I do love that. I love the mystery. And that's why I didn't want to spoil it for you guys in case you really do want to read it, which is kind of why this review just involved me going through my thought process and my theories and my ideas and a little bit of my criticisms. There wasn't many, but you know, there were a few. It was a little hard to talk about certain things for this review just because I feel like if I said too much on one specific topic, I would give too much away. And maybe that's not necessarily the case, and I'm just thinking that way because now I finally know the answer. So that's why I tried to leave it a little bit more vague. Like I said, just give you guys my ideas and, you know, leave it at that. Leave it up to your imagination or maybe intrigue you enough to go and read it. So yeah, I truly do hope that you guys enjoyed this. I do hope that you guys go and read this. If you have read it or you are planning to read it, drop a comment. I want to know what you thought of the book, or if you go and read it, just let me know that, because I am curious to see how many people read it. And then you can let me know if you liked it or what you thought of it after you're finished reading. But I really do hope that somebody reads this book. She's so popular, and I don't know how I never read any of her books before, and I feel like I've been missing out because this book was really good. So I truly hope you like this video. Read this book. Don't read it. Like I said, let me know either way. Also, if you're gonna comment and you have read the book, let me know if you were as shocked about the ending. If you guessed the ending right. Like, I want to know. You can also comment any book titles you want me to add to my book bowl. I am always adding new titles. I don't think I'm ever going to finish this book bowl. I don't know what I'm getting myself into. But yeah, that is it for today. Please like this video, comment your thoughts, subscribe if you haven't already to support my channel, and hit that little bell to be informed every time I post a new video. I do appreciate you guys for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Until next time, bye!